Celebrities are a lot like us. They have secrets, and sometimes they even have aspects of their lives that, for one reason or another, they keep hidden for years. But in Hollywood, your secrets can only stay hidden for so long. In this video, we're going to discuss 15 celebrities from the golden age who had hidden identities. And trust me, some of these stars will surprise you. Number 15. Marlon Brando. On screen, Marlon reinvented acting with an intensity that redefined Hollywood. Off-screen, he lived in overlapping realities so complicated that even his closest friends couldn't keep track. What Hollywood kept quiet was Brando's trail of hidden relationships, multiple families in many countries, at least 11 kids, and affairs with both men and women. His private island in Tahiti wasn't just a getaway. It was a haven where he could live far from the industry's grip. Brando's real life was layered with contradictions, identities, and secrets he shared with almost no one. According to director Francis Ford Coppola, even Brando himself sometimes seemed uncertain where his characters ended and his real self began. The studio sold him as a tortured genius. The truth was much harder to package. Brando wasn't performing one role. He was juggling many, both public and private. The more iconic he became, the more fragmented the man behind it all grew. Number 14. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, whose voice shaped a generation, wasn't just a musical legend known for his charisma and timeless ballads. Behind the iconic chairman of the board persona was a man whose life was steeped in scandal and secrecy. His smooth exterior often masked a stormier side marked by volatile relationships and whispered connections to organized crime. Sinatra's romantic entanglements were as intense as they were public, including multiple marriages and notorious affairs that fueled endless speculation. Yet despite his many controversies, he managed to maintain an image of effortless charm and control. The contrast between his public elegance and private turmoil remains a subject of fascination. How did someone with such a carefully maintained facade balance fame, power, and personal chaos? Sinatra's story is more than stardom. It's a reminder that beneath the polished veneer of celebrity often lies a far more complicated and sometimes darker truth that rarely makes it to center stage. It's just hidden. Number 13. Joan Crawford. The dazzling star of old Hollywood, Joan, was known for her relentless ambition and polished persona, lived a private life starkly removed from the perfection she projected. While hailed as one of the era's most famous actresses, Joan's home life carried very unsettling undertones. She was infamous for her rigid and often severe parenting of her adopted children, especially Christina Crawford, whose memoir Mommy Dearest exposed the emotional and physical abuse she suffered. Beneath the red carpets and flashbulbs was a controlling presence few truly knew until after her passing. But her iron-fisted parenting wasn't the only shadow. Whispers of affairs, both with men and women, added another layer of intrigue to her already controversial image. How did Crawford maintain her stardom while concealing such chaos behind closed doors? The contrast between her screen glamour and real-life turbulence continues to challenge the myth of her legacy. Number 12. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth led a life as complex and unpredictable as the roles she portrayed in classics like Cleopatra. Known for her beauty and headline-making romances, Taylor married 8 times to 7 different men, turning her personal life into a public spectacle. Yet behind the media frenzy was a far more layered individual. On set, she was often labeled difficult, clashing with directors and co-stars alike. Off-screen, she wrestled with addiction, using alcohol to navigate the chaos that surrounded her fame. Through it all, she eventually redefined herself not just as a star, but as a humanitarian. Her passionate advocacy for HIV/AIDS awareness became the defining mission of her later years. How did a woman so entrenched in drama and excess transform into a global voice for compassion and change? Taylor's story goes far beyond glamour. It's one of personal battles, reinvention, and a legacy built on resilience and heart. Number 11. Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey, the hardened romantic of Casablanca and The Big Sleep, defined the era's rugged leading man. Yet behind the steely glare and effortless cool was a man living with unspoken struggles. A difficult childhood and several failed marriages preceded his love story with Lauren Bacall, which many saw as redemptive. Still, Bogart's internal battles never truly left him. He fought quietly with alcoholism and was a heavy smoker, both of which eventually deteriorated his health. While he remained an icon on screen, his personal life was far more fragile. Few outside his inner circle knew how deeply his demons ran. How did someone who seemed so invincible on screen manage the slow unraveling happening in private? Bogart's story is a striking example of how even the most indomitable stars can carry invisible scars. Beneath the charisma and tough guy persona was a man quietly contending with the cost of keeping it all together. Number 10. Natalie Wood. Natalie embodied grace and immense talent, leaving an indelible mark through standout roles in West Side Story and Rebel Without a Cause. But behind her shining film career was a personal world riddled with hidden struggles. Her marriages, particularly her bond with actor Robert Wagner, were steeped in mystery and emotional turbulence. Her untimely death in 1981, ruled an accidental drowning, remains one of Hollywood's most puzzling tragedies. The details of that night continue to be clouded by speculation, with theories ranging from personal conflict to rumors of a secret affair. Was her passing truly a tragic accident, or is there more to the story that's still buried beneath silence? The lack of resolution surrounding her death has continued to haunt her legacy. Natalie's life, marked by brilliance and ambiguity, leaves behind questions that refuse to fade. The more the years pass, the more her story lingers, unfinished and heavy with possibilities. Number 9. Cary Grant. The elegance, the accent, the charm. Cary Grant embodied sophistication. But the man audiences loved never actually existed. Born Archibald Leach in working-class Bristol, England, Grant built an entirely new identity to escape a haunted past. At just 9, he was told his mother had died, only to learn 2 decades later she'd been institutionalized by his alcoholic father. That betrayal followed him for life. The Hollywood version of Grant erased the pain, presenting instead a flawless leading man. But under that polished surface was a man fighting an identity crisis he could never escape. Grant privately turned to LSD therapy in the 1950s, desperate to reconcile who he was with who he was forced to become. "Everyone wants to be Cary Grant," he once said. "Even I want to be Cary Grant." It wasn't charm, it was survival. His entire persona was a mask so convincing that even he started believing it. So, never trust anyone. Number 8. Vivien Leigh. Vivien Leigh, immortalized as Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, led a life filled with the same intensity that marked her legendary performances. Beneath her elegant presence and celebrated career lay personal struggles that few saw. Leigh quietly battled bipolar disorder and persistent depression, all while navigating a fraught marriage to fellow actor Laurence Olivier. Her emotional challenges were compounded by a complicated affair with a streetcar named Desire co-star Marlon Brando, adding further weight to an already delicate balance. Despite her inner turmoil, Leigh never wavered in maintaining her image as a consummate actress. Her life was a blend of beauty and pain, triumph and heartbreak. Vivien Leigh's legacy is not just one of artistic brilliance, it's a portrait of a woman fighting invisible battles while standing in the harshest of spotlights. Number 7. John Garfield. John helped shape the rebel archetype in American cinema with a rawness that felt lived in because it was. What the audience never saw was how much of that edge came from real experience. Raised on New York's tough Lower East Side, Garfield had brushes with juvenile delinquency and rumored ties to local crime figures, connections that followed him long after the fame set in. He wasn't just playing tough guys, he'd known them. During the McCarthy era, that past turned into a liability. Though never a member of the Communist Party, Garfield refused to cooperate with the House Un-American Activities Committee. He wouldn't name names. For that, he was blacklisted. The mounting pressure and isolation broke him down. At just 39, Garfield died of a heart attack, a sudden, tragic end to a career already sabotaged by fear, politics, and Hollywood's obsession with self-preservation. He wasn't sacrificed for truth. He was silenced to protect lies. Number 6. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo didn't just retire, she vanished. At the height of her fame and beauty, at just 35, she walked away from Hollywood completely. No press tour, no farewell interviews, just silence. For the next 50 years, she lived in near total isolation. Her Manhattan apartment became a private fortress, and she often walked the streets in heavy disguises to avoid recognition. What most didn't realize, Garbo's iconic line, "I want to be alone," wasn't just scripted drama. It was a plea from a woman crippled by social anxiety and psychological trauma. The studio system had turned her into a global symbol, but had stripped her of autonomy and identity in the process. They crafted a deity, but crushed the person beneath it. Disappearing was her final act of rebellion, a way to reclaim herself after years of being molded, packaged, and sold. The goddess stepped off stage, not for applause, but for peace. Number 5. Mae West. Mae West is remembered for shattering taboos with her provocative wit and sultry performances in films like She Done Him Wrong, where she effortlessly fused allure with clever wordplay. But beneath that flamboyant facade was a woman of iron resolve. A master strategist, West tightly controlled her career, refusing to be managed or molded by studio executives. While her public image was drenched in sexuality, West kept her private affairs fiercely guarded. She never married and stayed steadfastly independent, using her personal relationships, often quietly, as leverage in the industry's power games. Despite her openness on screen, she remained opaque off it, shielding her emotional world with precision. How did someone so audacious on camera maintain such silence about her own desires? West's life was a study in contradiction, boldly public, yet deeply protected. Her carefully crafted mystique raises a compelling question. How much of the real Mae West did the world actually get to see? What do you think about her? Number 4. Judy Garland. As Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, Judy Garland became America's sweetheart. But behind the camera, she was being broken down piece by the very studio that made her famous. MGM controlled every detail of her life: her weight, her sleep, her diet, and even her schedule. They fed her amphetamines to keep her working and barbiturates to knock her out at night, beginning a brutal cycle of addiction before she turned 16. Her mother, one of the industry's most ruthless stage parents, helped enable the system that was devouring her. To the public, Judy was bubbly and charming. Behind the scenes, she was exhausted, unstable, and drowning in pressure. Even as her health deteriorated, studio PR teams insisted on selling the illusion of joy. Her tragic death at 47 wasn't random. It was the inevitable outcome of a machine that used her up and left her nothing but applause and empty hands. I don't know about you, but she was my favorite star. Number 3. Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis is often remembered for his irresistible charm in Some Like It Hot, and this guy embodied the quintessential Hollywood heartthrob. With his suave grin and easy charisma, he captivated audiences. But off-screen, Curtis's life was riddled with contradiction and emotional weight. His public image masked a turbulent private world marked by substance abuse, failed marriages, and a strained relationship with his daughter, actress Jamie Lee Curtis. While many viewed him as a ladies' man, Curtis often struggled with deep personal dissatisfaction. His battles with addiction and depression were kept out of the limelight, leaving fans unaware of his emotional state. Curtis's story isn't just about stardom. It's about the cost of keeping up appearances while navigating profound inner conflict. Behind every joke and smirk was a man wrestling with shadows he couldn't quite shake. What you see on screen is not always the truth. Number 2. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin's iconic character brought joy to millions during hard times, but the man behind the mustache lived a life full of scandal. Beneath the bowler hat and slapstick charm was a deeply controversial figure. Chaplin had a disturbing pattern of relationships with very young girls, including marriages to 16-year-old Mildred Harris and 16-year-old Lita Gray. On top of his personal controversies, his outspoken leftist politics during the height of the Red Scare made him a target. Despite decades in the United States, Chaplin refused to take American citizenship, which added to suspicions about his loyalty. In 1952, while traveling abroad, he was banned from re-entering the country. Hollywood, once proud of its comedy genius, now considered him a liability. His fall wasn't just about scandal. It was about a system that turned on him the moment he became inconvenient. Chaplin's exile marked the brutal end of a legacy that once defined cinema. Number 1. Bette Davis. Bette Davis, renowned for her raw talent and unforgettable roles during Hollywood's golden years, was equally formidable off-screen. She never backed away from confrontation, whether it was her famous feud with Joan Crawford or her unwillingness to bend to directors or co-stars. That resistance earned her a reputation for being hard to manage. Yet it was that same unyielding fire that fueled her artistry. Her personal life, however, was just as unsettled. Though she married multiple times, it was her complicated bond with her daughter, B.D. Hyman, that left the deepest mark. Hyman's later memoir portrayed the emotional turmoil of growing up under Davis's fiercely independent yet unrelenting parenting. Davis refused to conform to Hollywood's image of how a woman should behave in career or family. But how did someone so intent on breaking barriers navigate the cost of closeness? Her life stands as a powerful blend of dominance, defiance, and the steep emotional price of fame. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon in the next one.